Good morning, Shaun here. It is time for the Revelstoke Mayor Report with Mayor Gary Sulz. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, Shaun.
This discussion was just about you and me having a chat about this based on some posts I saw online and questions that I kind of had. And it's about our rental market and really where we're at with sustainability. The issue, of course, is affordability and sustainability. Now, we could have had some foresight and looked at it when RMR was being built and said, hey, you know what? There's going to be a housing market issue here in 10 years. This has to be built before anybody comes to play on the ski hill. It may have been a slow burn, but it wouldn't have been so problematic today. Now, we can't tell if that was the case, but that seems to be one topic of discussion that does come up, and that's why we do need staff accommodations now. Now, one of the biggest concerns that people have in our community about the rental market is somebody could own a home either in town or own it from out of town, rent out each room for $850 per month, and make a decent amount a month. That would probably cover their 1 year's worth of taxes, where your average family is probably just paying their mortgage and their families are living in it, not bringing in that additional income to cover the rising costs of our taxes. And of course, we can only tax those that are taxable. This is where people are feeling, at least in my opinion, are feeling that it's skewed.
Yeah, and they're frustrated, and I get that whole thing. We do have a bylaw where you can only have so many people in your home that are not family that are renting rooms. How hard is that to enforce? It's fairly hard. It's frustrating for all of us where we see that happening. The process is kind of set up so that people could rent a room out, a senior could rent a room out to a student or a younger person to help them do their work around the yard and assist. And that's kind of a project that the Poverty Reduction Group kind of embraced. This is a whole different situation. So we have people making this, doing this, no control over what's happening. No control over parking. They're parking all over the street. I have it in my neighborhood as well. It's a frustration. So trying to work through that. So as we try to work through kind of rental accommodation and deal with this sort of thing, it's like, how do we do it? So we had at UBCM last year, when we were live at UBCM, both Councillor Sherlett and Councillor Rind had talked to BC Assessment and saying, we should have a vacation rental assessment tax where these people pay a higher tax, and that would be across the board throughout BC. So BC Assessment said that's a great idea. So they were going to look at that, whether something that can come to fruition or not, or whether it's even something that would actually work in this circumstance. So if people are going to start renting these rooms out, this is a commercial entity now. They should have a business license. They should pay fees and that sort of thing. We're seeing that across the board where people have a room for rent. And, we had an incident down on Mackenzie 3 or 4 years ago where there was a fire. And when people came out of there, it was like 7 people were homeless because of this fire, and they were paying this amount of money. But the landlord wasn't putting the money back into the house or doing anything to keep these people safe. That's a big concern for us. So as we go forward, we're going to have to deal with that. Is there an easy answer? No, but it sure is a frustration for the neighbors.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having a billet or having one person is a totally different ballgame because at best that's one extra car, not 4 to 5 or however many. Yep. I could see why people get frustrated with the situation and it feels like nothing ever gets done. But, Cody did a thank you on the community board for being elected 2 years ago, and he said something about, memory serves me, and this is right off the top of my head, I think he said 4 to 6% isn't feasible in the long term. And he's not wrong. Everyone's probably at some point looked at the whiteboard and gone, okay, should we stay?
Yes.
Is it sustainable for me as a senior citizen? Is it sustainable for me as a middle class earner? And you get people that are upset because they've grown up here, they've lived here, their family's here, their grandparents are here, their parents are here, and they're going, well, like realistically, is Jack and Carter ever going to survive here? I seriously doubt it. By the time they're 18, my house is going to be worth $1 million. It won't be, but that's what I'm selling it for.
Yeah.
So
and we get that. And sustainability is a great issue. I mean, we need to look at that. What can we do with taxes? People only have so much dispensable income that they can put towards that. And these are basic needs. And so we look at it, go, do we pay taxes or do we buy food? And so we need to be practical about those sorts of things. But then it comes down to those who are coming into our community who are doing this, who are buying these homes and then just renting them out by room. It becomes a problem.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and we
they're
need to
spending
deal with
money here, and I get that. It's, people that rent a room, they may work here, and some of their dollars are coming back into the economy here, and that's good.
Right.
But that doesn't kick back up to the mothership, which is City Hall, which then means, okay, so yours goes up and mine goes up, and sooner or later.
Everybody else pays.
Yeah, and it's just simply not workable.
And so we look at that and go, what's going to be sustainable for all? How do we move forward with this? Is there an easy answer? No, but we need to deal with it. And how we deal with it, our staff are working flat out to kind of get some foundational processes in place so that we can deal with that. But there isn't a community or a tourist community in the province that isn't dealing with the same thing. Having said that, that doesn't mean that we can't do something or be the trendsetter or do, go forward or something. So, we are looking at what we can do. How do we work around it? How do we make it work? And just see what we can do.
I mean, history repeats itself. And when I got here and said, we don't want to be the next Whistler, but I'm very curious to see when Whistler really was at its infancy. If you compare it to our infancy to today, are the parallels fairly close in line where we could have gone, yeah, if we had read that book.
Yeah. And so we're fortunate where we have our director of planning who's worked in Whistler and our director of engineer who's worked in Whistler. So they know some of the history and the nuances so that they can do a workaround or at least hear what the community's saying, because we don't want to be another Whistler and we don't want it to make it unsustainable or have all of us have to move out of the community. As I age, I look at it, where am I going to go if I downsize? So there's all of those sorts of things that we have to work on. It's a big overarching problem that we need to deal with.
A few concerns of yourself that you wanted to touch base on?
I want to basically talk a little bit about the temporary use permit that's going to be coming to council with workforce housing in Johnson Heights.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So there is a spot on the Revelstoke city website with frequently asked questions. So people can ask questions, they can look at information and actually get some information on this. The big concern was, why is RMR proposing this and not on their own lands? They don't have room on their own lands. Where the work's going to be built is where this sort of thing would go. And so there's just no place. Then they have some land on West Side Road, and again, it's not suitable. So they're able to come up with something up there in Johnson Heights. So this is a temporary use thing, and it's not going to infringe on the residents seeing it. There'll be some shading and planting and trees and whatnot around, that sort of thing. It's going to come to council, but if people have some concerns, then they can write council. They can write the city, admin@revelstoke.ca, or give input through the website, and get some answers. And so I encourage them to do that, because this will be coming to council on Tuesday.
Would it be in a contract when it says semi or non-permanent that upon completion of said project that those would be removed and it would go back to the way it was?
That's mandatory.
Okay.
That's going to be mandatory. So if this use permit, it's 3 years, and if it would be extended, it would come back to council of the day for them to look at it and say yay or nay. And so it's not an automatic renewal or anything like that. So anyway, I just want people to be aware of that.
Okay.
I want to go on just a little bit about Recovery Task Force. There is a community well-being survey, and probably the easiest, again, to go to revelstoke.ca/RTF, be able to look at the survey, complete it, and it's how has COVID-19 impacted you. And so the Recovery Task Force would like to know that information, and then they can derive whatever they're looking for from that information. Some of the facilities closing for the season: public washrooms, Farwell Park, Big Eddy, Queen Elizabeth Park, again, today will be closing because of winter season. Playing fields will be closing, I think, the 26th, and then the tennis and pickleball courts November 2nd. Now, if we get a whole bunch of snow before then they're going to be closed earlier. So just we're dealing with that. So I want to talk a little bit about Roundabout, because some people are a little frustrated with that whole process. I got a call from one of the contractors this past week saying that I had stated that it was them that was holding it up, and it wasn't. And so somebody took my words and changed them around.
No.
Yeah. So typical. But anyway, one thing that I wanted to basically deal with is that this is a $5 million project that was originally planned to be built over 2 seasons. The contractors have worked together. They're getting it done in 1 season. So to see it's a few weeks delayed in getting it because of inclement weather, I think it's a bonus that we get it done now this year. But also I'm grateful to the contractors for being able to work together and bust their tails to get this done. So our hope is, again, weather dependent, that next week that it's fully open and away we go.
Was that always clear that it was supposed to be over 2 seasons?
I think the original plan was over 2 seasons. Let's see what we can get done. So they were going to start and get as much done as they could, and then if it had to go over 2 seasons, then that was the original.
I feel like
plan.
that must have got lost in the shuffle because
Yeah.
maybe if the community knew that it was supposed to be between 2021 to 2022, and then the good news is it's going to be done in one, it would have been, I mean, still annoying, but a little less annoying.
Yeah, and so my neighbors are frustrated.
I love the
with
sign
it.
out on the corner. Let's just leave it up. It's funny,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Down Highway 8, my neighbor put up his sign, and anyway, it was down a couple days later.
I hope nobody goes after him about that.
Anyway, no, I don't think so. I think he was
good. It's funny.
I kind of chuckled and I understand the frustration, and but also I am grateful for the staff working hard to get this done. So we're going to see that come to fruition, and then soon after that, hopefully we'll be able to unveil City Hall as well. I think that's going to be done earlier than expected, so we're hoping. So.
Okay, well,
and the only other thing, Sean, I want to mention to everyone out there, it is the election tomorrow. Get out and vote. Vote for whoever you feel you need to vote for.
All right, thanks, Gary.
Good, thank you.